July 16, 1969, the Saturn V rocket lifts off from Florida. It is the most powerful machine ever built by man, a masterpiece of American engineering. The architect behind this miracle is Dr. Wernher von Braun, the father of the American space program. A genius, a hero, but history relies on who tells the story. Rewind 25 years. London is burning. The same technology propelling Americans to the moon was once used to rain death upon civilians in Europe. And the hero, Wernher von Braun, he wasn't just an engineer, he was a major in the SS, a man who built his rockets using slave labor from concentration camps. How did a war criminal become an American icon? This is the story of a secret government program that smuggled 1,600 Nazi scientists into the United States. They traded justice for technology, morality for power. This is Operation Paperclip. Welcome to Redacted Past. Spring 1945. The Third Reich is collapsing. Hitler is dead, but a new war is already beginning in the ashes. The Cold War. American intelligence knew that Germany possessed technology decades ahead of the Allies. Jet engines, guided missiles, biological weapons. The orders from Washington were clear. Get the science before the Russians do. It was a treasure hunt, but the treasure wasn't gold. It was human brains. In a university toilet in Bonn, a Polish lab technician found a document that someone failed to flush. It was the Osenberg list, a catalog of Hitler's top scientists and engineers. The US Army began tracking them down, but there was a problem, a big one. President Harry Truman had explicitly ordered no active Nazis. Anyone who was a member of the Nazi Party or participated in war crimes was banned from entering the USA. This rule would have disqualified almost everyone on the list. So, the intelligence agency, the OSS, precursor to the CIA, did something creative? They didn't reject the scientists. They simply rewrote their past. Agents placed a paperclip on the files of the most useful scientists. This signal meant, don't look at his background, just approve him. And just like that, the program was born. Operation Paperclip. The biggest prize was Wernher von Braun. He was the technical director at PENEMNDE, the Nazi Research Center. His creation, the V-2 rocket, killed thousands of people in London and Antwerp. It was a terror weapon. It arrived silently, faster than the speed of sound, and exploded without warning. But the darkest secret wasn't the rocket itself, it was how it was built. The V-2s were constructed in an underground factory called Mittelwerk, by slaves. Prisoners from the Dora concentration camp were worked to death in these tunnels, starved, beaten, and hanged for the smallest mistake. Did von Braun know? For years, he claimed he was just a scientist, looking at the stars, unaware of the suffering. But survivors testified that they saw him there, walking past the dead bodies, stepping over the dying men to inspect his machines. He knew. He chose to look away. When the war ended, von Braun didn't face a trial. He surrendered to the Americans, bringing his entire team and tons of documents. He was treated like royalty, given a steak dinner, a new suit, and a ticket to America, while his victims were still being pulled from mass graves. While von Braun was building rockets, another group of Nazi scientists was recruited for a different purpose, space medicine. To send a man to space, you need to know how much pain the human body can endure. Meet Dr. Hubertus Strughold. In America, he became known as the father of space medicine. The library at the US Air Force Base was even named after him. But his research data didn't come from volunteers. It came from Dachau. During the war, Strughold oversaw experiments where prisoners were submerged in freezing water for hours to see how long it took them to die. They called it the hypothermia experiments. They also locked prisoners in vacuum chambers to simulate high-altitude flying. They lowered the pressure until the victims' lungs ruptured and their brains swelled. Strughold watched. He took notes. And then, he packed those notes in his suitcase and brought them to Texas. The pressure suits worn by Apollo astronauts, the oxygen systems, they were designed using data harvested from the torture of innocent human beings. Strughold lived a long, celebrated life in America. He never faced a day in prison. But rockets and medicine weren't enough. The US military wanted the ultimate weapon, germs. Enter Dr. Kurt Blome, a high-ranking Nazi scientist who admitted to testing plague vaccines on prisoners. Blome was actually put on trial at Nuremberg. He was facing the hangman's noose, but mysteriously he was acquitted. Found not guilty. Why? Because the US Army Chemical Corps intervened. They needed him. 2 months after his acquittal, He was hired by the US Army to work on biological warfare. His knowledge directly influenced the early stages of SIA projects like MKUltra. The man who planned to spread bubonic plague across Europe was now on the American payroll. His job was to help America figure out how to do the exact same thing to the Soviets. By the 1950s, Operation Paperclip was a complete success. The whitewashing was total. Wernher von Braun became a celebrity. He appeared on TV alongside Walt Disney, teaching American children about the wonders of space travel. The SS officer had become Uncle Werner. And in 1969, when Apollo 11 landed on the moon, the world cheered. It was the ultimate victory for democracy. But underneath the launch pad, the foundation was built on the bones of slave laborers. We often ask, do the ends justify the means? Operation Paperclip answers the question with a chilling yes. The US government decided that winning the Cold War was more important than justice. Today, the legacy of Paperclip is everywhere. In our GPS satellites, our jet engines, and our medical knowledge. We stand on the shoulders of giants, but we must never forget that some of those giants were monsters. Most of the Paperclip scientists died peacefully in their beds, surrounded by grandchildren, celebrated as American heroes. They escaped judgment in this life. What do you think? Should the US have executed them for their crimes, even if it meant losing the space race to the Soviets? This is a debate that has no easy answer. Let me know your verdict in the comments below. If you want to see how Nazi science influenced the CIA's mind control programs, click this video on culture right here. I'm Miles, and this has been Redacted Past.